Namaskar, namaste, and welcome to the Vedanta Society of Greater Houston and our Sunday service. Today, the talk will be in a series I started long ago and then haven't continued for a long time. Now I want to start it up again. That is a series on minor Vedanta texts. Not minor in the sense that they're unimportant or that they're not as good as some of the major works. Minor in the sense that they are less known than the three major foundations of Vedanta, which are the Upanishads, and that means the major Upanishads, 10 or 11, depending on how you consider them, the Bhagavad Gita and the Brahma Sutras. Those are the three textual foundations of the Vedanta tradition. But there are many, many other books on Vedanta written by various saints and scholars down through the ages. And so this is a series that I conceived of as a way to present some of the lesser known texts of Vedanta. Some of them are actually quite well known, like today's Stotra is quite well known, but it's not that much studied outside of those who are practicing Advaita Vedanta. Some people may chant it, sing it as a devotional exercise, but to actually study it, that's not done often. So the text is the Dakshinamurti Stotra, which means the hymn to Dakshinamurti. So let me begin with a chant, and then we will continue with the text. Om yo brahmanam vidadhati purvam yo vai vedangscha prahinoti tasmai tam hadevam atmabuddhi prakasham mumukshurvai sharanamaham prapadye. We who seek liberation take refuge in that infinite light which illuminates the hearts of all, who is the source of the Creator himself, and who revealed to the Creator the infinite knowledge known as Veda. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat. Om peace, peace, peace be unto us all. So the main heart of the Dakshinamurti Stotra is composed of 10 verses, and we'll go through as many of them as we have time for. There may not be time for all 10, but if not, then I'll summarize the last ones. But I want to begin with the story, which is behind the Dakshinamurti Stotra. And actually in the Stotra is written, it's said to be written by Shankaracharya. The authorship of such ancient works can always be doubted and questioned by scholars, but it's attributed to Shankaracharya. And certainly it has a claim for being a very early text and for being an actual text of Shankaracharya, because there is still existent a commentary, Manasolasa, written by Sureshwaracharya, a direct disciple of Sri Shankaracharya. So if it's true that Sureshwaracharya wrote a commentary on it as a text of Shankaracharya himself, then certainly it must be Shankaracharya's. So then the question comes, well, how do you prove that the commentary was written by Sureshwaracharya? And that we're not interested in. We're interested in the text. And whoever wrote it, Shankaracharya or someone else, it's an extraordinary work of the state and process of illumination. So the story again, I said I would tell the story, because actually besides the 10 instructional verses, there are several verses which relate to Dakshinamurti himself as the teacher. So the story is, there's several different stories about Dakshinamurti and how this image of Shiva as Dakshinamurti came to be. So Dakshinamurti is a form of Shiva, and it means he whose murti, whose form is facing to the south, Dakshina. So he who is looking to the south. So some of you know that tradition in India is that when you sit to meditate or when you sit to worship, you should face either the east, because that's where the sun rises, and so that's the auspicious direction from which the day itself begins, the illumination begins, light comes into the world. So you face either east or you face the north. And the north, because that was the Himalaya, the place from where the rishis and sages gave out the Vedantic knowledge. And so the north was an auspicious direction because of that. The Himalayas were conceived of as the land of the rishis and gurus. And also, the Himalayas are the land of Shiva. Shiva lives on the mythic mountain of Kailasa, which is the heavenly world of Shiva. It's not a heavenly world of enjoyment, but the heavenly world of illumination. Like Vaikuntha for the Vaishnavas, Vaikuntha is the place where Vishnu and his incarnations live. And the devout Vaishnava seeks to go to Vaikuntha. Again, not a land of enjoyment, a land of full illumination. And so Kailasa is the realm of spiritual knowledge in which dwells Shiva. And but Kailasa itself was conceived of as a mountain, and the Himalaya was the home of the mountains, the greatest mountains of India and of the world. And so the mountains themselves were sacred and were considered, the mountains themselves, all of the Himalaya range was considered the abode of Shiva and of Durga, she who is the daughter of the Himalaya mountain, Girija, the daughter of the mountain. So again, the story is that one story is the sages went to Shiva to get knowledge. Another story is, one of the earliest stories perhaps, is that in the Dakshinamurti Upanishad, is that the sages went to the sage Markandeya. And then these were great sages, including Sanaka, one of the sons of Brahma, the creator himself. So again, these are all the mythological stories. We're not talking history here. But this is what you can say is sacred history, that which it doesn't matter whether these things happened in fact on the earth, but these are what give life and meaning to the tradition and to the teachings. So again, the sages went to, in this one version, sages went to Markandeya asking for the path to liberation. Please give us this sacred knowledge. And so he taught them about the Dakshinamurti, the south-facing Shiva, and how he was the embodiment of this liberating knowledge which they were seeking. And so again, Dakshinamurti is Shiva facing the south. And so even now in the Himalayas, it's a tradition among traditional sadhus that when sitting for meditation in the Himalayas, you face the south, like Shiva. And when you're in the plains, then you face the north towards the Himalayas. And so Shiva, as the teacher, is seated. He's holding the Jnana Mudra, or the Chin Mudra, the instructional mudra, like this, and he's teaching. So one of the verses that describes Dakshinamurti, not the instructional verses, but the description in the hymn is Chitram Vatataror Mule Shishya Vridha Gurur Yuva. Oh, now what is the Guru Yuva? Grostu maunam vyakyanam shishastu chinna samshayaha. So let me do it again. So I have it all in my mind. The reason for chanting it is so that I have it in my mind so that then I can translate it. Chitram vatataror mule shishya vridha gurur yuva gurostu maunam vyakyanam shishastu chinna samshayaha. So Chitram, how wonderful that the disciples all gathered are old men, and yet the teacher is in the prime of youth. So the image is of Shiva seated under Vatataror Mule, seated under the banyan tree. So on Mount Kailas. So this is either Shiva or the sage Markandeya, who manifested Dakshinamurti. So they said we'll say Shiva. Shiva is a young Shiva seated under the banyan tree, and the disciples who are gathered are old men. Gurostu maunam vyakhyanam shishyastu chinna samshayaha. And the guru, Dakshinamurti, sits in silence. He says nothing. And the doubts of the disciples are destroyed forever. So this is the image that Shiva is seated under the banyan tree, holding the mudra of knowledge. And the disciples are old men, sages with long white beards and long white matted locks, who have come to him for the knowledge of liberation. And Shiva says nothing. And the doubts of the disciples are dispelled forever through the power of his mauna, through the power of his silence. So the idea is that the true guru, the highest guru, doesn't need to speak a word. And so therefore, in modern times, Ramana Maharshi was often said to be the incarnation of Dakshinamurti, because he often, for years, he remained completely silent. And people would come and find all of their doubts melted in his presence. And even later, when he began to speak, he would spend most of the day quietly, and once in a while say a few words, recorded in his talks and other books. But again, the fact that he would sit silently most of the time and didn't have to talk to dispel the doubts of the disciples. And so, of course, Sri Ramakrishna, Swami Vivekananda, and Holy Mother had that power as well. The power to dispel the doubts just by being in their presence. So that is the power of active silence. Active, I don't mean the silence which does things, which is engaged in activity, but which is a power which dispels ignorance. Some years ago, I think it was in 2014 or 2013, I was part of the Festival of Faiths in Louisville, Kentucky. I was invited to speak there. And one of the things I was invited to do was to have a public dialogue with Syed Hussein Nasser, who's at Georgetown University and a famous Sufi scholar from Iran. And so he told about, in his talk on this occasion, when I was with him, he told about the first time he went to India, because he's a scholar in Hinduism as well. He went to South India and went to the Sringeri Mutt to see the Shankaracharya, who was the head of Sringeri Mutt at that time. That would have been probably back in the early 60s. And at that time, the head of the Sringeri Mutt was considered to be a saint. And so Dr. Nasser said that he went in and was told that the guru could not speak to him, that he was observing silence, but that he would be in a little bit just for an audience. And so he sat there quietly and waited. And then the Shankaracharya came in, sat down, just remained silent. And Nasser said that he actually felt that all of his doubts, all of his questions just melted away in the presence of this saintly man, that he also had that power of instruction through Maunam. So again, this is the idea of Dakshinamurti. One other thing, let me say that Dakshina also can mean both auspicious and compassionate. And so Dakshinamurti is the south-facing image, who is also the image of compassion and the image of that which is auspicious, which of course is the meaning of Shiva itself. So just as in the Dakshina Kali is the Kali who is the auspicious Kali, whose right foot is forward as she stands. She's the Aghora Kali, the non-terrible Kali, the auspicious Dakshina Kali. So now let us come to the verses. The verses are written in a beautiful meter, which is the Shardula Vikriditam meter. It's a difficult meter to write in, a strict metrical form, and it's difficult even to say. Shardula Vikriditam meter. So that is the meter it's written in. And one of the beauties of this text is that it's a wonderful blending of jnana and bhakti. the path of knowledge and the path of devotion. It blends the two together. So the first verse says, Vishwam darpana drishyamana nagari tulyam nijantargatam pashyannatmani mayaya bahirivod bhutam yatha nidraya yas sakshat kurute prabodha samaye swatmanamevavyayam tasmai shri gurumurtaye Namaidam Shri Dakshinamurtaye. So this verse, the first verse, is one of the most beautiful in the whole hymn. Vishwam, this universe, Vishwam, this universe, Darpana Drishyamana Nagari Tulyam, is like a city seen in a mirror. So if you have a mirror and you hold it from a point where you can see the city before you, and so you can reflect the city within the mirror. So this world is like the reflection of a city caught in a mirror. Nijantargatam, which is inside. So this whole world is actually inside, like the city reflected in a mirror. Pashyannatmani mayaya bahirivod bhutam yatha nidraya. But it's seen within the self. But by the power of Maya, it's projected outside, just as in sleep. Now, what that means is, in dream, we dream up a whole universe, the dream world. It's peopled with various people. Some we might be from memories of people we actually know. Sometimes they're people in dreams that we never met before. We don't know who they are or how the mind created them. But we see this whole world full of activity, full of people, full of animals, the sky, the water, etc. And during the dream state, it seems to be a world like this, outside of us. That we are walking around in the dream world. The world is out there, and we are moving about within it. When we wake up, we see that the dream world was all inside of the mind. It wasn't outside at all. It was all within the mind. And so Shankaracharya is saying here that this whole vast universe, it seems to be out there. I am living within the world. I was born into it. It was here before I was born. It'll be here after I die. And so I come into it and I leave from it. No, that's not the truth. That's the way it seems from conventional experience. But as we go deeper into towards the non-dual truth, we begin to see that this universe that I perceive, it's all within the mind, just as in a dream. Just as in a dream, this whole universe is within my own mind. I don't see it outside, but I have the sense that I'm seeing it outside. It's a very strange thing. If you take the world, those of you who have heard a number of my talks will know that I like to take basic concepts and to develop them, or to inquire into them. What do they mean? And so one of those concepts is the concept of world. We have the idea in Hinduism and some other traditions that there are different worlds. And of course, in the Christian tradition also, you have at least three worlds. There's the lower world, and this world, and then the heavenly world. And so there are these worlds that we can enter into, that when, at least from the Hindu standpoint and the Buddhist standpoint, when the mind is in a particular state, it perceives a different world. And so we have the idea that there's this world out there, and I am inside the body. But do you ever see a world without seeing it through a body? No, you don't. This body and this world are all the same thing. This body and the world, they come together. Can you see the world without a body? Yes, you can see it without this body, but then you'll have another body, a subtle body. Through which you perceive it. But you can't see it without a body. That is, world means an incarnation within a body. And is there a world outside of all bodies? No, there's no world outside of bodies, because there's no world outside of perception. The world that we perceive is a world because we perceive it. Outside of perception, if no consciousness is perceiving the world doesn't exist. Think of it. Think of the world without any awareness of the existence of the world. Then the world disappears. What is existence without awareness of existence? What is a rock or a lump of matter if there is no consciousness to know that it's there? Is it there? No, it's not there. And so this world of perception, this whole world is actually inside of me, inside of each one of us. But through the power of Maya, it seems projected out there, just as, he says, in sleep, we project the dream world outside of ourselves. And so then he goes on, Yasakshat kurute prabodha samaye swatmanameva vyayam. Who sakshat kurute, sakshat kurute, the one who perceives prabodha samaye at the time of enlightenment, the one who perceives at the time of enlightenment, swatmanam eva dvayam, their own self, their own non-dual self. So the one who perceives at the time of illumination their own non-dual self, Tasmai Shri Guru Murtaye Namaidam Shri Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. So to that Dakshinamurti, to that image of the Guru, to that form of the Guru Murtaye, Guru Murti, to the image of the Guru who is Shri Dakshinamurti, my salutations. So the whole thing is, I salute, let me read the running translation here. He who experiences at the time of realization his own immutable self, and actually here it's advayam, though the way that I have seen it in other books is avyayam, which means immutable. So he who experiences at the time of realization his own immutable self, in which the self alone plays as the universe of names and forms, like a city seen in a mirror, due to the power of Maya, as though produced outside as in a dream. To him, the divine teacher, Sri Dakshinamurti, is this prostration. So the verse is complex, and so the translation is complex as well. Actually, to translate it in an understandable way, you would have to divide it into several sentences. You couldn't start from the beginning and in one sentence have complex clauses and so forth until you get to the end in one sentence, because the thought is too condensed and too complex to accomplish that in English. Though in Sanskrit, oftentimes it was delight of the writers to write such a complex thought in a single sentence. So he who experiences at the time of realization his own immutable or non-dual, avyaya or advaya, self, in which the self alone plays as this universe. So the self, which just as in dream, when we see the dream outside, but actually it's inside, so the self plays with this universe, which actually is inside, but seems to be outside of us. Due to the power of Maya, it's projected outside. So to that Dakshinamurti, who is the very Guru, I offer this salutation. So in this verse, we see, first of all, the nature of the universe itself. So he goes right to the top, that this universe is not outside of us at all. It's actually inside. And at the time of illumination, when we see the reality of the self, we see that that is everything. That this whole idea that there was a universe projected outside of us was the function of Maya. But there is the one non-dual self in which all of this is appearing. And it's the Guru who reveals that to us. So here, as I said, there's a wonderful blending of jnana and bhakti in this stotra, in this hymn, where one moment in the verse, you think he's speaking of Dakshinamurti Shiva, that Shiva as the Lord of the universe, and the next moment you think, well, maybe he's speaking about the jiva, the individual self. So let me explain that a little bit, because that comes in these other verses, some of them also. The jiva, the individual self, and Ishvara, that is God. So what is the difference between God and jiva according to the Advaita philosophy? The difference is that The light of Brahman, the full glory of Brahman, the infinite non-dual reality beyond relationship, beyond any idea of gods and goddesses and all of that, beyond any division whatsoever. That reality, impersonal reality, is reflected into the totality. This whole universe catches the reflection of that reality. And the reflection of that infinite consciousness within the universe is God, Ishvara. So God is that infinite non-dual reality reflected within the universe. And that, because it's infinite, reflected in the totality. There's no ignorance there. And so Ishvara, God, never suffers from ignorance as we, the individuals, do. But just as that infinite reality is reflected into the totality, what's called the samashti, the totality of Maya, the creative power of this universe, so it's reflected into every part. And so within every conscious being, there is a reflection of that same reality. And that is known as the Atman. That reflection within the individual is the Atman. It's the same reality which is reflected in the totality, which is Ishvara. But because it's reflected within the individual, within the small, within the limited, within the individual buddhi, the individual higher mind. Therefore, it's conditioned by what it is reflected in, and it thinks, I am small, I am limited, I'm separate from the rest of the universe. So that is the difference in non-dualistic Vedanta between Ishvara, God, and the individual. We're the same reality, the same reflection. Only in Ishvara there's never ignorance because it's the reflection in the totality. And it's the full reflection in all of its power and glory. And that is what Ishvara is, the samashti, the sum total, as Swami Vivekananda says, the sum total of all souls, not just human, the sum total of all souls, of all consciousnesses, is Ishvara, God. And the jiva, you and me, the rat, the cat, the snake, the insect, we are the individualized reflections, that same reality reflected in the mind of or whatever consciousness beings have, including plants. They may not have a mind as we know it, but they certainly have a perception and sentience. And so however it's reflected in a plant or in an animal or in a human being, it's that same reality reflected, but with the sense of being individualized, because we're reflected in the what's called the vyashti, the samashti, the totality, and vyashti, the particular. And so that's the only difference between Ishvara and the jiva. So here in this verse again, he's speaking of Shiva, in whom the whole universe appears. But really in this verse, the emphasis is more on the jiva, the one who attains to knowledge at the time of prabodha samaye, at the time of illumination. Sakshat krute prabodham samaye, swatmanam, the one who realizes their own self at the time of illumination. Well, of course, for Dakshinamurti, for Shiva, he is ever illumined. He is illumination itself. So he doesn't attain to illumination. We attain to illumination, so the jiva. But that illumination itself is Shiva. So again, he's tying the jiva and the Shiva, the guru, together, the teacher and the taught, tying the two together. So let's go to the second verse. The second verse says, Bijasyantarivam kuro jagadidam prag nirvikalpam punaha Maya kalpita desha kala kalana vaichitra chitri kritam Maya viva vidrim bhayatyapi moha yogi vaya swechaya Tasmai Shri Guru Murtaye Namaidam Shri Dakshinamurtaye. So this verse tells the truth of the universe and of the jiva. So it begins with Bijasyantari hivankuro jagadidam prang nirvikalpam punaha. So before the coming into being of this universe, it exists like the sprout within a seed. So within the seed, there's a tiny sprout, which is going to become the whole plant. So in a banyan tree, there's the tiny seed of a banyan tree, which becomes a tree so big that it can, with its aerial roots, form a whole forest in itself. So this vast universe with all of its diversity, infinite diversity, that's contained within the seed of the universe before creation. And so Maya kalpita desha kala kalana vaichitra chitri kritam. Well, let me go to the translation, because otherwise some of these verses, like often in Sanskrit, you have to go to the bottom and then to the top and then to the middle and back to the top and then to the bottom. So let me just deal with the English and come to the Sanskrit when necessary. He who, like a juggler, that is a magician. In India, they use the term juggler, and England also. Here, people are not. A juggler means something else. So here, a magician, he who, like a magician or a great yogi, unrolls this universe, unfolds, manifests this universe out of his own free will, swechaya, out of his own free will, he unfolds, manifests this whole universe. The universe which before creation remained unmanifest, like the future tree in a seed. So like the bijasyantara evankaro jagadidam. So like the sprout within a seed, the germ within a seed, which becomes the whole universe, which existed within him in that seed-like form. And later on has projected himself out to be the world of endless variety due to the delusory play of time and space, both the products of Maya. So Desha Kala, out of the play of Desha and Kala, time and space, he unfolds this whole universe. So as Kant showed in the West, Immanuel Kant, and as Vedanta showed long before that in India, the whole universe is conditioned by time, space, and causation. We can't understand, we can't even perceive anything outside of time and space. And the only thing outside of time and space is that reality which is Dakshinamurti and which is the Atman within each one of us. That is beyond time and space. Everything else is conditioned by time and space. And so out of time and space, this whole universe has been spread out. It's spread out in time and it's spread out in space. So that I have the sense that I'm sitting here within the chapel, on the altar of the chapel of the Vedanta Society of Greater Houston, which itself is situated on Lindita Drive, which is in Mission Bend, which is in Houston, or just outside of the city limits of Houston, in the unincorporated parts of Houston, which is within the state of Texas, within the country of the United States, within North America, within the world, the planet Earth, within the solar system, etc. You keep going to bigger and bigger and bigger systems. So the mind projects out this infinite space, and we feel that I'm located within one tiny speck of that. And also, I'm located at every moment within a particular moment of time, with the infinite past behind me and the infinite future coming towards me. So within a moment of time and within a particular particle of space in this vast ocean of endless space. But that's not the truth. The truth is that time and space itself are projected out of the mind. They're the conditions of the mind, this whole vast universe. And therefore, Swami Vivekananda said, all souls are here, like in a point. All souls are at the same point. All souls are in the same place, at the same, it's not even a place, because there is no space. And therefore, he also said that Swami Vivekananda, when he was speaking in America, probably New York, as far as I remember, I am as much in London as I am here. So I think of myself, speaking of me right now, of being within Houston, and that within just a tiny particle of the space within Houston. But no, I exist as much in the moon, in the sun, and distant galaxies as I exist right here, because it's the mind that projects out time and space. All of that is within the mind. So this is, of course, very high philosophy. It's a high knowledge. So again, the verse in totality says, "He who like a magician or a great yogi unrolls this universe just out of his own free will, swechaya, the universe which before creation remained unmanifest, like the future tree in a seed, and has later on projected himself out to be the world of endless variety due to the delusory play of time and space, both the products of Maya." To that teacher, divine teacher, Sri Dakshinamurti, I offer my prostration. So I offer my prostration to Dakshinamurti, who has projected this whole universe out of himself, where before creation it existed within him like a seed containing the life of the plant. Not that he was the seed. No, the seed itself exists within him through the power of Maya. And through the power of Maya, it's projected outward with the powers of time and space. So again, here the emphasis is on Shiva, Ishvara, God. The previous verse, the emphasis was on the individual who attains to illumination, but it's saying the same thing about both. That me, even I, the individual, see the universe as projected out there, but actually just as seeing a whole city within a mirror, the city is seeing in a mirror the reflection of a city. We think, well, we may think that we're looking through a mirror. This has happened to all of us. I remember once going to a restaurant. Someone took me to a restaurant in San Diego, and I went in, and the whole time I was there, I thought, my goodness, this restaurant is so big. It didn't look big outside, but it's so big. And I kept looking to see and checking and everything. Finally, when we got up to leave the restaurant, I finally saw, because of changed perspective, I saw my reflection. And then what I thought was the other half of this restaurant was actually just mirrors across one whole wall. There was a whole wall of floor-to-ceiling mirrors. And so like that, we see within the mirror the whole city and think that we're looking through a window at a city. No, the whole thing is within the mirror. So within the mirror of the mind, this whole universe that we perceive is within the mirror of the mind. And so that was the first verse, which spoke about how the universe is within me. And here the second verse, the emphasis is on Shiva, that the universe exists within Shiva, who out of his creative will, swechaya, out of his own sweet will, he projects this universe through time and space, through the play of time and space. Desha kala kalana. And but again, both verses pertain to Ishvara and also to the individual, but the emphasis is more on one or the other in each. So in the third verse, it again talks about creation, and then it jumps to liberation. So it goes, Yasyaiva spuranam sadatmakam asat kalparthakam bhasate sakshat tattvamasiti veda vachasa yo bodhayat yashritan yat sakshat karanad bhavinna punaravrittir bhavam bho nidho tasmai shri guru murtaye namaidam shri Dakshinamurtaye. So this says, Yasya eva spuranam sadatmakam asat kalparthakam bhasate sakshat tattvamasiti vedavachasa yo bodhayat yashritan. So yes, he alone whose manifestation, spuranam, sadatmakam, is nothing but the existent self, the sadatmakam. So yasya eva spuranam saratmakam, he whose manifestation, he for whom this whole manifestation is nothing but his own self-existence. Asat kalparthakam, but imagined as the illusory objects. We don't see the self. We don't see ourselves as the self. We don't see God as the self. We see all of these objects which seem to be anything but the self. They don't seem to have absolute existence. They come and they go. They don't seem to be conscious. And certainly not blissful. And so this universe of objects seems to be the opposite of the Satchidananda Atman, the self, which is existence, consciousness, bliss absolute, the world that we perceive. But no, that's what it is. It's our ignorance that causes us to see the world as we see it. And by attaining to knowledge, then we see the world as it really is. We see it as the divine, as God, and as the self. So he whose manifestations alone are nothing but reality, and yet it appears as the illusory objects, sakshat tattvam asi iti veda vachasa ya bodhayati. So asritan, who to those who have taken refuge in him, he who, to those who have taken refuge in him. So again, he who means Shiva, Dakshinamurti, the Guru, Shiva as the Guru. So he in whom others, the devotees have taken refuge, and who to them teaches Tattvamasi, thou art that, giving them the initiation into the highest knowledge, into Sakshat Tattvamasi, the direct knowledge of their own true nature through the instruction Tattvamasi. And after direct experience of which there is no more any return to the ocean of existence. Na punara avrittir bhavambo bho nidho. So after attaining to that knowledge, there's no more returning to the ocean of samsara. So again, it's a complex verse with complex clauses. So pulling it all together in hopefully a comprehensible form. He, that is Shiva, Dakshinamurti, whose manifestations, which are themselves nothing but the reality. All of these manifestations are nothing but the reality. He who is his own manifestations, its own manifestations, appear as the objects of the world. He who imparts to those who have surrendered to him, ashritan, those who have surrendered to him, direct enlightenment, prabodha, through the sakshat tattvamasi, through the Vedic commandment, thou art that, tattvamasi, and after the direct experience of which there is no more any return to the ocean of worldly existence. To him, the divine teacher, Sri Dakshinamurti, is this prostration. So my prostrations to that Dakshinamurti, who is the very form of the teacher, of the Guru, who is the highest Guru, the Sadguru, whose manifestations are this world that we perceive. That is, this all that we perceive is its very being is that same reality, which is Dakshinamurti, which is the divine reality, but which appear as the objects of the world. And to that Dakshinamurti, who to those who have surrendered to him, who imparts the instruction Tattvamasi, ending their delusion, to which they never again return. So to that Guru, our salutation. So again, the idea of Tattvamasi, which the most well-known of the Mahavakyas, the great sayings of the Upanishads. It's called the Upadesha Mahavakya, the great saying which is meant for teaching. So the teacher tells the disciple, Tattvamasi, thou art that. You, the individual, you who think that you are small, who think that you are insignificant, who think that you are weak, who think that you are dependent, who think that you are so vulnerable to everything that happens in the world, you are the infinite reality. So you, the individual, are the infinite reality. So here it's Shiva, the Guru. As Sri Ramakrishna used to say, Satchidananda is the true Guru. That the human Guru is someone who channels the real Guru. The real Guru is not the human Guru. The real Guru is Satchidananda, is God, who speaks through the human guru. And so here Dakshinamurti is the Guru Murti, is the true guru who teaches the disciple, whoever the human guru might be, teaches the disciple Tattvamasi. And it's that instruction coming from Dakshinamurti himself through the human guru, which brings illumination and thereby an end to samsara, an end to transmigratory existence within the ocean of samsara. So then we come to verse 4, which is one I'm very fond of, because it gives a good image for meditation. And a way of thinking about our experience, the nature of experience, and the nature of consciousness, and that which reflects consciousness. So it goes, Nana chidra ghato darastita mahadipa prabhavaswaram jnanam yasya tu chakshuradikarana dvara bahispandate janamiti tameva bhandhamanubhatye tatsamastam jagat tasmai Shri Guru Murtaye namaidam Shri Dakshinamurtaye. And so here again, Nana chidra ghato darastita mohadipa prabhabhaswaram. There's a lamp seated within the base of this vase made of clay. That is, it's talking about the body as if it were a vase or an urn of clay. With various holes in it, the eyes, the nostrils, the mouth, the ears, etc. So this vessel of clay with various holes in it, within the heart of that vessel there is a lamp which illuminates the inside of the vessel and which shines out through the holes in the vessel. So, jnanam yasya tu chakshuradi karana dvara bahispandate. But whose light of knowledge shines out through the instruments of the eyes and ears, etc., and illuminates the world around us. And then janamiti tameva bhandhamanubhatye tat samastam jagat. So janamiti, the idea that I know. When I say I know, or when I experience, I know. When I have the experience of knowing something, then that light within the heart is shining and illuminating that which I say I know. So when I say, oh, I know, or oh, that's who that is. Oh, I see what it is. Oh, now I understand. It's that light which is illuminating the object which I say, which makes me say I know. And which illuminates samastam jagat, this whole universe. The whole universe is illuminated by that. So it's a beautiful image that this clay urn with holes in it, and seated within the urn there is a lamp, and that lamp is shining out through the holes. And so in this body, there's the light of consciousness which is within the heart, reflected in the buddhi, the highest part of the mind, which is physiologically, anatomically located here. Doesn't mean the physical blood-pumping heart, but in the lower center of the chest, the psychic center. It's not a physical organ, it's a psychic center. Although it's interesting that modern research has shown that outside of the brain, there are the most neurons in the heart of any part of the body. And before a thought registers within the mind, within the brain, I should say, before a thought registers in the brain, first there's neuronal activity in the heart, and then the activity within the brain. So anyway, the psychically, the experience is that in the highest part of the mind, which is within the area of the heart, that catches that light of the infinite Brahman, the infinite spirit is illuminating the hearts of all. And it's that light which shines out through the sense organs. And so when I say, oh, I know, I see somebody coming, I see the car drive up, I don't know who is in the car, and then I see G10 getting out of the car, and I say, oh, it's I know, that's G10. That is a spiritual act. every act of knowledge, of no matter what it is. Whenever I say I know, it's that light of awareness which is illuminating. And it's that light which is the essence of knowledge. So here we have to understand that in English, when we say knowledge, the way we ordinarily understand knowledge is something that is known. Knowledge is something that can be written down, which can be recorded, which can be put in a database, which can be stored in a library, which can be stored on tape, videotape, audio tape, written words, etc. So knowledge we think of as something which is objective, which can be shared with other people. And so when Swami Vivekananda says that the Brahman is absolute knowledge, that's confusing to an English speaker, because we think of knowledge as something that you know. And so infinite knowledge, you think, well, Brahman must be like where the whole knowledge of everything is stored, the storehouse of knowledge. No, not that at all. In Vedanta, the idea is that the importance of knowledge is the act of I know, janami, I know. Knowledge is the experience I know. Not what you know, that's of secondary importance. It's the fact of knowing. And whatever it is that you know, there's the same experience. Janami, I know. That is knowledge. And that is, the infinite knowledge is the nature of God, is the nature of Brahman. It doesn't mean that God or Brahman or the Atman is a vast library with everything stored in it, where you can look up the zoological name for some insect you've never seen before. No, it means it's that infinite knowledge, that experience we have a little flicker of when I know something here, that in infinite, endless measure, that experience of infinite knowledge. That is what knowledge is. And so that is seated within the heart. And it goes out through the sense organs. So now time is practically up. So let me just summarize the other verses. And this series on the minor texts of Vedanta is not to cover each one, because each one could be a class in itself over several periods. It's just to acquaint you and give you a taste for the different texts. So that is all that I am attempting to do this morning, to give you a taste for what is within this text. Again, we've only gone to verse 4, and there are 10 instructional verses, and then several verses which just tell about Dakshinamurti, the image of Shiva. So the fifth verse tells about the work of the Guru, what it is that the Guru does. The sixth verse tells about deep sleep, the state of deep sleep, because according to Vedanta, the fact of deep sleep reveals great truths about the nature of reality. The fact that I can go into a state where this whole universe and all of its diversity disappears, where thought disappears, where the body is completely gone. In the dream, this body is gone, but I have a dream body where I'm running, a tiger is chasing me and I'm running. I fly in the air with my dream body. I go under the water with my dream body. But there is a body. But in deep sleep, the body itself disappears. Even the dream body disappears. The mind disappears. Thoughts disappear. Perception disappears. The universe is gone. And yet, I am. And so that reveals a great truth about the nature of reality, that within me is the power to negate the whole universe, physical universe, even the mental universe. And so the sixth verse deals with that. The seventh verse tells about the Guru who reveals himself as the self of the disciple. That is, that the difference between Guru and disciple itself is only an illusion. And 8, that the Jiva has divided himself, Jiva, the individual, me, you, every individual, has divided itself into the experiencer and the experienced. That I consider myself the seer, and all of this is the seen, but this is a duality created within the mind. And then the 9th verse, the Guru is everything. Everything is Dakshinamurti, the whole universe and everything within it. And then the 10th is the conclusion, which tells the purpose and the fruits of practice. So let me just do the 10th verse, and then we'll conclude. So if you have any questions, now would be a good time to type them in, because after this verse, then we will stop. Sarvatmattvamiti sputi kritamidam yasmadamushmin stave tenasya shravanat tadartha mananad dhyanat cha sankirtanat sarvatmattvamaha vibhuti sahitam syadishwaratvam swata siddhyetat. Oh, here there's a mistake in the Sanskrit in this book. Let's see, I have to remember what the real thing is. Siddhyeta, not tapta. It is tatpunar. Siddhyetat punarashtadha parinatam chaishvaryamavyahatam. So this one says that sarvatma tvam iti sputi kritamidam yasmad amushmin stave. So the knowledge that all this is the Atman, that sarvatma tvam, that all of this that we see is the Atman, has been explained in this amushmin stave, in this hymn. And so by hearing it, reflecting and meditating, Shravanat tadartha mananad dhyanatcha sankirtanat. So by Shravanat, by hearing it, tadartha mananat, by thinking about the meaning of it, and dhyanat, meditating deeply on that understood meaning, and sankirtanat, by chanting about it, then one will attain that divine state endued with the glory of the of selfhood, the Atma, which is everything, along with the permanent eightfold holy powers of Godhood, that is the Ashta Siddhis. So one who attains to this state of illumination knows that the whole universe is the self, and they attain to Ishwaratvam, that is to lordliness. They attain to spiritual power. And so this is the text in 10 verses in brief. But again, as you can see, it's full of deep meaning. It's undoubtedly a text of the Advaita school. It's heavy on the highest non-dualistic thought, but it beautifully blends the path of knowledge with the path of devotion, the devotion to Dakshinamurti Shiva, to Shiva who is the image of compassion, Dakshinamurti, and who is facing south from Kailasa. That is, we are all facing Kailasa and the realm of Shiva, and Shiva is facing us. But that same Dakshinamurti is within the heart of every being. And so the distinction between the guru and the disciple is only an apparent distinction. Even Holy Mother herself said that when Swami Vivekananda once came to see her and said that, Mother, the knowledge which washes away the guru, where does such knowledge have to stand? That Mother had told Swamiji that don't forget me. And Swamiji said, well, that knowledge which washes away the guru, where can such knowledge stand? Meaning that without the guru, where will knowledge stand? So then Swamiji left, but then Holy Mother said to others, but indeed in the highest state, guru, disciple, all of that disappears. And then you know that that God, the Guru, the individual self, and the universe itself are all the different manifestations of the same reality, which I am. And so that is the message of the Dakshinamurti Stotra. So let me see if there are any questions. None there, but Jiten has.
Not a question, but a comment. The first verse that we talked about,
yes,
and number 6 of the Song of Sannyasi.
Oh, that you mean they're connected. verse 6 of the song is, there is Swami Vivekananda. So Jiten is saying that the first verse of the Dakshinamurti Stotra and the sixth verse of Swami Vivekananda's Song of the Sannyasin have a connection. So the sixth verse of Swamiji says, there is but one, the free, the knower self, without a name, without a form or stain. In him is Maya dreaming all this dream. So in him, the one reality, which I am, and which is Shiva, which is the Divine Mother, and which is me, the same reality, not part, but the whole. In him is Maya dreaming all this dream, and that is Maya dreaming all this dream. The witness, he appears as nature, soul. Know thou art that, Tattvamasi. Know thou art that, Sannyasin bold. Say Om, Tat Sat Om. So yes, that's a beautiful statement. Was there another question? Did I see another hand? No. Okay. So we'll conclude here. Let me give the announcements and then a final chant. Next week, there will be a talk. I'm thinking of reviving and making some new, reviving some and making new series. So reviving the series on minor Vedantic texts, of which this was an example. So maybe once a month, when possible, I'll do a Vedantic text. And then once a month, talk about some deity from the Hindu tradition, and then once a month speak about a basic concept like Dharma. So I'm thinking next week to give a talk on Saraswati, the goddess of wisdom. The origins and the development of the idea of Saraswati and the importance of the idea of Saraswati in the tradition. So this was suggested by one of our devotees, Dhira, and so I've thought of taking that up as an occasional talk on a particular deity, the symbolism, the history, the development, etc. Many of the deities have their origin in the Vedas, like Saraswati, even Ganesha, Shiva, Vishnu, Kali, Durga, they all have their origin in the Vedas. And so tracing the origin and the historical development and the revelation of the deity and what the deities mean in experience and in spiritual life. So that's it for today. So this week on Tuesday, we'll have the class on the Bhagavad Gita at 7:30 in the evening. Thursday morning at 11 o'clock, the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. And next week, a talk on Saraswati, the goddess of wisdom and of the arts, etc. And then we are continuing to help Seva International with their feeding of the needy here in Houston, because again, Houston has been hit particularly hard by the economic downturn caused by the coronavirus. And so we are collecting foodstuffs. If you want to donate foodstuffs, then please check the list which we've sent out of things that should be brought. They should all be non-perishables. Or you can send a check. Send it made out to the Vedanta Society of Greater Houston, but mark it as for the food drive or for Seva, etc. So I'll give a closing chant. Om Dyo Shanti Antariksham Shanti Prithvi Shanti Apa Shanti Oshadaya Shanti Vanaspataya Shanti Vishwe Deva Shanti Brahma Shanti Sarvam Shanti Shantireva Shanti Sama Shantiredhi Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Peace is in the heavens, peace in the sky, peace is on earth, peace is in the waters, peace in the plants and the trees. The gods are peace. Peace is the nature of truth. Peace, alone peace. May that peace, real peace, be with us all. Om, peace, peace, peace be unto us and to all the beings of the universe.